I want to be involved in the meat industry. I truly think that that's where I belong. So I think that first and foremost, like getting that experience at those smaller processors is essential because you really do get to see every aspect of it. You know what I mean?
Welcome to MeatsPad, a platform dedicated to sharing breakthrough knowledge that is accessible to the meats industry. On each episode, we will hear from meat specialists and professionals to talk about numerous topics in meat science. This podcast is brought to you by the U.S. Meat Export Federation, the Niche Meat Processor Assistance Network, UltraSource, the new standard for innovation. Viscofan is a global leader and innovative partner in the food industry who provides solutions for the casing market.
IFA, slaughter and meat processing tools.
SmartLockerUSA.com. Safe for butchers, simple to use, but not vegan friendly.
Hello, meat folks. Welcome back to the MeatsPad podcast. This is your humble co-host, Phil Bass. Francisco is out making the world a better place for us meat enthusiasts. Today, I have someone that I get to encounter occasionally during my day job at the University of Idaho. We have a student currently pursuing a degree in animal science, and she has just recently finished an internship with a meat processor in Montana. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, about internships as a whole for both those who are interested in being an intern and those who are interested in having an intern. I think that's very important. Without further ado, let me introduce to the world Isel Tejeda Urenda. Did I get it right?
That was pretty close. I'll take it.
Pretty close. So Isel, you're from Hermiston, Oregon, and you spent this last summer in Big Timber, Montana. Is that right?
Yeah, booming metropolis of Big Timber. You know it.
That's right. All right. Well, tell me about your internship. What did you do, and what did you experience?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed my time in Montana. I had an awesome time there. And most of all, I got to learn a lot more about small processors and got to become a little bit more efficient at cutting and killing. So that was an awesome experience. How that internship went was that 2 weeks after school was out in May, I took the 10-hour trek to Montana and started my internship there. Once I got started, I was handed a schedule that gave me my rotations. So with those rotations included were about a 2-week span, a 1 to 2 week span in each section of the shop. So I worked in the sausage room, I worked in the ready to eat packaging room, in the fresh packaging room, as well as the cutting table and the kill floor, and also worked bacon for a little bit. That was fun. And then once I was efficient in all of those areas, then I was able to pick where I wanted to be the rest of my internship. And I was also allotted a $2 raise. So that was super cool. While I was there, I decided to go onto the cutting table and the kill floor. Those were the two that I wanted to be better at. So I wanted to practice more. And I also enjoyed the crew. So that was really awesome. But overall, a little bit about what I got to learn that I wasn't like exposed to before going to this internship was more like the food safety side of things. So they use a program called We Are Food Safety, and I was able to use that program as well as learn a little bit more about like pre-op, post-op, all those types of operations, and go through with their the person they have employed to do their food safety records. So her name was Brandy, and she was super cool. I got to work with her quite a bit. And then another thing that I got to work on was in the sausage room. I got to make when I say a lot, I mean a lot of bratwurst. Like we were making probably 1,200 pounds. And to me, and what I'm exposed to, that is a lot, you know what I mean? And I know that there's larger facilities, but for me, that was pretty exciting.
So, and this is fantastic. So it sounds like you had a very well-rounded experience, and you got to work in an operation that does everything, literally everything. And for a little bit of background, Isel is a current employee, but then also a great product of our university meat lab, Vanderbrand Meats at the University of Idaho, which also does a little bit of everything. But Isel got a chance to spend a little bit more time and see a little bit more volume on a larger commercial scale. And we do want to shout out to, it was Pioneer Meats, right?
The mission of USMEF is to increase the value and profitability of the U.S. beef, pork, and lamb industries by enhancing demand for their products in export markets through a dynamic partnership of all stakeholders. Simply put, USMEF is putting U.S. meat on the world's table.
Yes, Pioneer Meats, Brian Engel and Carrie Engel, they're great folks. They were just so awesome to work for. Those people care about their employees, and they cared about me as an intern. They had me lodged up in a cabin at an abandoned water park, which was a cool story to tell. But it was a nice cabin. I got to stay there as an intern for free, which is not something that every internship offers, but they were willing to offer that. They also took me along on a ride to Ames, Iowa this summer for the American Meat Processors Association convention. So that was awesome. And they would just try to get me involved in everything they could. He was a part of a lot of like clubs and within the community, and whenever they needed volunteers, I was voluntold. So that was really awesome. I got to meet more people through that, so I enjoyed it.
Well, and oh gosh, I'm taking a bunch of notes right now because there's some things that I want to conclude with from those who are going to offer internships. But I do want to I want to follow up with that because you did encounter this team at a Northwest Meat Processors Association, which is part of the American Meat Processors Association, and so can you talk a little bit about how you found your internship and how you connected with the folks at Pioneer Meats?
Right. So how I found that was really through the Meats Lab and James, and even you a little bit there. But you folks took me along. Well, actually, I was in Hermiston, where the convention happened to be this year, and James, not knowing that my folks lived in Hermiston, asked me if I would be willing to travel to go to this convention and do some meat judging there of the cured meats contest. And I said yeah, and because I was already in town, so it worked out great. And while I was there, James was talking to Brian, because they know each other through many years of competing and whatnot, and camaraderie. So he was talking to Brian, and then I started talking to Brian because I'm quite the social butterfly from time to time. So I just started talking to him, and eventually sat at the table with them. And the more we talked, the better we got along. And by the end of it, he stood up and shook my hand, and he was like, "If you ever need a job or an internship, you talk to me." I was like, "Yes, sir." And then a few weeks later, he reached out to James and was like, "Hey, I think you might have someone that would be a good intern for me. Will you let her know I'm looking for an intern?" And I was like, "I'll be there." And you had helped me find a few other internships, but I really felt that this hands-on opportunity was more what I was looking for, as well as Montana. I wanted to go to Montana and do more than just show cattle there, so that was exciting for me. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's a great transition into yet another question is so I know you kind of grew up raising cattle. You had a bit of a show string. How did you get involved in the meat world, and how did you get kind of transitioned into this whole thing?
Yeah, so at a very young age, my parents and I, like, ever since I can remember, we've always had cattle, but we used to always harvest our own. We'd do 2 a year, and we'd harvest that and just like, have it for the family, and that was awesome. And I remember doing like sorting offal with my mom, because we eat everything, we eat all of it. So we'd sit there and clean the offal and sort it out and say, this is what we're going to use it for, or whatnot. And then that kind of took a pause once I got involved, because we started doing more like breeding stock. And then after that, I started college, and COVID hit, and also my asthma hit me harder. So everything was just like adding up, and I kind of had to do a little bit of a career shift from wanting to do more of like the live animal side of it and try to find something else that wasn't outside because my asthma was so bad.
Mhm.
So then, out of the blue, Sammy Terrier, which is a gal who raises a lot of Gelbvieh cattle in Pomeroy here, reached out to me and said that one of her friends needed some workers, and she'd known me through judging, and I used to show for her and stuff like that. And she was like, "I think you would be a great fit if you need a job. Like, I'll get you a job. You know, with Sam Hunt over at CNO Locker, he needs a lot of help right now." I was like, "Oh, perfect. Like, I'm looking for a job. I don't want to be in Oregon longer because the COVID rules are very strict." So I came back to Idaho as soon as my lease was open, and started working for Sam Hunt there at CNO Locker, and had just like I had an awesome time there, like a blast, learning everything about meat cutting and all that. And I had experience in high school doing like the meats judging, CDE and whatnot, so I already had some identification, you know, under my belt, so I was able to be a pretty good rapper in that way. So,
Mhm.
and then from there, I just got more and more involved, taking your class, and having that lab where, and so I guess no one knows, but the class is called Products for Human Consumption, and in that class, we went through every pretty much everything in ag that is consumed by humans that is animals. So it was pretty cool to be in that class and be hands-on, breaking down carcasses and going on field trips. So that really got me involved and made me want to ask James for a job at the meat lab again, because I was like, oh man, like this would be a great opportunity. And from there, I've just grown in the meat industry, if you will.
The Niche Meat Processor Assistance Network, American Association of Meat Processors, and Kitchen Table Consultants is proud to present a new mastermind program for scaling meat processors. The Meat Processor Academy Mastermind Program is a year-long peer learning experience that will help you solve the ugliest problems in your meat business. The application deadline for this opportunity is January 10th, 2023, and only 20 meat processors will be accepted into the mastermind program. If you want to learn more and consider applying, go to meatprocessoracademy.com/mastermind program and apply now.
Well, and I appreciate your endorsement of the course, and yes, and of course, you know, I absolutely love teaching that course. But you know, the for those who are out there and are wondering who this mysterious James guy is, he's our meat lab manager. It's okay, Isel. He's our meat lab manager at the University of Idaho, and an enormous wealth of knowledge when it comes to everything. I mean, from harvest all the way down to further processing. And so hopefully we'll have him on the podcast at some point as well. You know, Isel, you've mentioned a few things that are, I would really encourage for folks who are in your point of life, maybe transitioning out of high school or in college or about to graduate, and getting engaged with the industry, and regardless of the industry that is, you know, it may be meats, it may be livestock, it may be broccoli. I don't know what it may be. Whoever's listening to this out there, but all dozen of you people that are out there listening, don't be bashful, and be willing to engage with some of these folks. And bashful is not a thing that Isel is, because she's kind of already listed that she's worked for a number of different smaller operations, lockers. She did the internship, which gives you more experience. And I want to ask one more question, and then I'm gonna get up on my milk crate for just a little bit. It'll all be good, I promise. But
Okay.
how will your experience, both at the university level, but then also with your internship, because that's kind of the premise of this conversation, is how will this experience help you with your future plans, career-wise?
Career-wise, right. So, right. I mean, I want to be involved in the meat industry. I truly think that that's where I belong. So I think that first and foremost, like getting that experience at those smaller processors is essential, because you really do get to see every aspect of it. You know what I mean? Because like once you get to the bigger operations, you know that the rest, you know the other processes exist, but you maybe focus more on one. So I like to have that appreciation for it. And then I also think that it's giving me great people skills, you know what I mean? Because working in the meat industry, you work with a unique group of people, and I feel like that's true for any industry. Like they're very unique to their career, you know what I mean? So it's given me a way to learn how to carry myself within those situations, or not quite situations, but just those places and whatnot. And then also just having a better understanding of how it works and why we do it. So yeah. One thing that really stands out to me, which is not necessarily about the internship, but with James, is that he is super good about, if you ask him a question, he'll not only give you an answer, but he'll also explain why things are the way that they are. You know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of butchers, and I don't know if this is true for everyone, but there's a few butchers I know that are like, we just do it because that's how the guy before me taught me. And James is very good about, well, scientifically speaking, this will be more efficient than that because of this, and this, you know. So I really appreciate that.
Well, you've said so much in a concise manner, in fact, and you're very well spoken. So I appreciate all that. And again, I've been taking notes here. So what I wanted to, I'm going to turn this around into just a little bit more of a dialogue instead of a question and answer. But for those who are out there, first off, for those in a early on in your career point, whether you're just graduating high school, you're in college, you're graduated college, or you're at a company and maybe just thinking about moving things around, is get out there and learn about the greater industry, learn about other parts of the industries, and don't be bashful. You have to get out there and connect and network and work with others. You know, I also wanted to work with livestock, and I loved the feed world. I love the feed and nutrition world, but I too have terrible hay fever and allergies, and the meat world allowed for me to still be connected to agriculture, but be working in an environment that was just a little bit more conducive for, you know, health reasons and such. And I love it. I absolutely have found a home and a passion for that. So from the internship side of things, as the intern, you know, I think Isel has given us a great perspective, and I truly appreciate that. I want to turn this around for those who are listening out there who are maybe a little bit more advanced in their career and who may be in a position to offer internships. And I can't stress enough how important they are. This is the next generation. This is the next group of people who are going to continue the business.
If you are a meat processor tired of you and your staff making endless phone calls to chase down order details from customers, SmartLockerUSA.com can help. Enjoy 100% customizable online order forms that automatically convert into a butcher sheet ready for your team. Track orders, send order and slaughter appointment reminders, track order history, and build customer profiles. SmartLockerUSA.com. Safe for butchers, simple to use, but not vegan friendly.
The meat industry definitely has a culture, as you've mentioned, Isel, and I think that culture is changing, because for the longest time, you know, you could just about draw a picture of the bald-headed, handlebarred, mustache, grumpy meat cutter that's out there, and every one of those guys continues to get a little bit older, and we need to think about an exit plan. We need to think about retirement. We need to think about who is going to be next to grab the knife and take on the role. And if we have people like you, of course, we're going to be in very, very good hands. First and foremost, if anybody out there is listening, and you haven't noticed already, Isel does speak fluent Spanish, obviously fluent English, is going to be a graduate here soon from a university. So hire her, and hire all the others that are just like her, because brings quite an amazing background, as well as a heck of a meat cutter. But beyond that, you know, think about this from the employer's perspective, and you mentioned some great things. To offer for an internship, first off, it needs to be paid. Let's be real here, okay? And let's take care of our people, even if they are just temporary. Take good care of them, and if they're doing good things, give them that advancement. It sounds like Pioneer Meats was able to do that for you, Sil, which is really cool. The other thing they offered was housing, and if we can offer that, or at least a stipend for that, I've set up other internships before with other companies, and some means of getting the person to that location and helping helping them just find a place to land is very important. And adding some other value-added benefits. So you had a chance to travel to, it was Des Moines, right?
Oh, yes, I said Ames, but I definitely meant Des Moines. So
Well,
thank
that's
you.
okay. You were
Yes.
traveled to Iowa. You
Yes,
probably
Iowa.
passed through Ames at some point. And to the American Association of Meat Processors annual convention. What a value added to your internship. Not everybody gets to do that kind of stuff.
And I was paid all week to
and
be
you're
there,
paid
so,
too. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I mean,
Yeah.
look at that. You know what? All of that saying that this is an investment in your future and in the future of the meat industry. We have to continue to allow for these opportunities. And I'm an enormous endorser of internships. I'm a product of internships. I continue to try to set these up. It's not hard to do, but you do need to have a plan. Pioneer Meats clearly has a plan. Many other entities that I've worked with have a plan. And reach out to me or to us, info@meatspad.com if you want to connect that way. There's also the American Meat Science Association. My beloved organization has amazing connections as far as internships, employments, careers, etc. And go to their website at meatscience.org. All of those great connections to continue to grow our industry and continue to develop the next generation of meat industry professionals, meat cutters, etc. And I really liked my very last note right here that I needed to say is let's continue to explain why. You're absolutely right, Isel, that we can tell a person how to do something, but to get true buy-in is to explain why we're doing something. Would you agree?
100%. You need to know why you're doing something, I think, and I think that that's something that you folks do an awesome job of doing, and I see that growing more in the industry because people are more informed and more connected, so that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Isel, I really appreciate your time. You're a busy student, and so we're gonna let you get back to your busy schedule. But thank you so much, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you.